I don't know what I did there. Well, guys, we're going to Real Brits, Real Talk, 4th episode. We've got Glenn and Nick as usual. So, Glenn, you're ex-military.
I am indeed, yes.
No, he's not. He's a Brad Pitt lookalike. So, ladies, if you want to get your rocks off to look young Glenn, he's available from 6 till 9 for a live.
I'm a taken man.
The young Brad Pitt.
Bless him. No, but yeah, ex-military, got into some dark times, I believe, and then kind of hit the road of recovery.
Yeah, so I started the army in 2014. I was mega skinny at school. I was born 10 weeks prem. So I just grew through school. Like, I didn't start puberty until I was 17.
Oh, yeah.
I joined the army a month before my 18th birthday. I did 6.5 years. And then when I come out, I lost a sense of purpose, I guess, because I had a bit of a kudos from being in the army. It's a good job. You're wearing a uniform, you're going around the world. And then you go from that to, you know, I started work at a water treatment facility. So fixing stuff that would treat dirty water. And going from the army to that just sank my ship. I didn't have any idea what I wanted to do when I left. I was back in my hometown. It was a bit shit. But then, went to the doctors, did all that mental health stuff. I just got my fitness back. Just brought my army routine back into play, really. And a guy who I started a new job, after the water treatment place. And I met a guy there who was a bit of a mentor, really, a bit of a life mentor. And he's now in Australia living his best life. So he recommended me to read books, write notes, referred me to YouTubers, people that self-development stuff. So that was October last year. So we're now 13 months past that. I take vitamins every day. I go to the gym. I do kickboxing. I've written a book, this one here. This is a proof, but the rest... sorry, can you see that? Is it blurry?
It's a bit blurry. Hold it in the middle.
Oh, hang on.
Oh, you had it then?
I did have it. I don't know where it's...
What's it called?
It's called Newborn 280, a daily life guide for stronger men.
All right, we'll put a picture up of it. Send me a picture of it later, and we'll edit it in on the.
Yeah, no worries. So ask me any questions you want, and I'll fire back.
Well, you saw Nick on TikTok.
Do you know why? Oh shit! It's because of this stuff.
Ah, see.
Let me get the light back. Sorry.
That's all right.
This what I've just been sent today.
Oh, nice one, mate.
I was just smelling it all. I'd run out. I'd given it all away. I'd run out.
It's horrible stuff, isn't it? But it's amazing stuff. But sorry, my camera's gone all weird again. There we go. Right. So so I'm quite big into supplements, and I've been for about 4 or 5 years. Just because I watch people like Joe Rogan, Andrew Huberman, people like that, and some people are like, oh, it's nerdy, it's all this, but if I took on my supplements every morning that I took now, and then had like a few days without all of them, I think I'd definitely notice a massive change in a few days. What do you reckon, Nick? You're quite...
Yeah, I mean, for me, the Shilajit's been a total game changer. It's funny because it was the Shilajit videos that really started to take off, and I started to get a bit of a following, and here we are now.
Yeah.
I'm on personal terms with the guy that runs Raw Shilajit. I've started this thing with Jack. So for me, it's sort of changed everything really. But in terms of taking that stuff, sleep's better, libido's back. It's just I don't know what it is. It feels like it's some magical medicine.
I'm testing, Nick. I'm telling you, I'm putting it. I'm doing TikTok. I did a little sample of it a while ago. I do feel like it helped out some stomach problems, but this time, yeah, I'm gonna do because I got the pill ones, and you said the pill ones weren't very good.
No, what you need to do, Andy,
recommend them, did you?
Do you drink coffee in the morning, mate?
Yeah.
Right, so just get a little tiny bit of that, and put it in your coffee with a bit of sugar, and just neck it, and do that for a good few days without stopping, and you will notice a difference. I'm nigh on positive you will.
I'm going to start doing TikToks on it. More people want to know if this stuff's for real. So,
well, hey, you can push the ads on to Nick once you've reviewed it.
Me and Nick have got some ideas. Don't worry.
Hey,
we're brewing in the pot.
But I'm just at e-commerce stuff for myself. Really,
so
very, very beginning.
Just going back to what made you, as a young lad, like want to join the armed forces? Like of all the trades out there, what pushed you towards armed forces, knowing what could happen?
Well, I've always been hands-on. I didn't struggle academically, but I think sat in an office doing something that I didn't want to do from being a young age was always a no. So I think because I didn't know what to do, and I was always active and hands-on, I think the military was always going to be a place to look up to, even for a few years, just to get some experience, bit of discipline, a good masculine sort of ideology, I guess. Because
it definitely brings that.
It does, but I suffered as a kid. Before the army.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't very masculine. I didn't develop as quickly as other people did. And I think that the idea of wanting to join the military might have been a big part of that. But I wanted to join the Navy first. And then a mate of mine from college joined the army, and he came back like Rambo and was like, I'm mega hard. I'll knock any man out. And I was like, yeah, I want a bit of that. So I just quit. I quit my application, and my mum said, you're not going infantry. You need to get a trade. So I joined the Royal Engineers.
That's another thing with the army as well. Like my brother-in-law's come out with so many qualifications from the army.
Yeah, so I came out with my engineering qualifications and my HGVs and stuff like that. And then they offer a program where they'll fund stuff. So when you leave, I think you have a few grand in funding. So for some reason, I chose drone pilot. I saw somebody at my old work flying a drone. And I said, what are you doing with that? He said, I'll make money from it. I said, no, you don't. He said, I do. This is my full-time job. I said, well, so I called the Army Education Fund, got my course, passed my drone qualification. So now,
wow.
Aside my work full-time, I'm a commercial drone pilot, and I make content for people. I've just done a promotional video for a gym. So I think that can help me with marketing what I want to do. But obviously, I can help other people do that as well, because I use drones and cameras and make sort of creative stories and different atmospheres and mountains and trees and cars and stuff.
We will definitely talk. I'm sure Nick can help you with some content creating. Sure. He's just all into that.
Yeah. One question. How come you aren't still in the army now?
So I think as I was getting older, the wage was getting less. So all my friends who weren't in the army were making more and more and more and more, and I was making more like the same. And you can save money in the army because you're not spending any of it. But when the deployment stopped and we was just stagnating in a camp in England where you had to be constantly, you can go out to the pub and stuff, but it felt a bit isolated, really. And a lot of my friends started leaving the army and said, oh, this is bad. And when you get in a toxic sort of circle like that, it sort of changes your frame of mind to wanting to kind of leave. So, yeah, you have to do a year's notice. So, if you hate your job, you have a year basically.
Oh.
So some people suffered more than others. I think I enjoyed every aspect of the army. I look back with rose-tinted glasses and remember all the good stuff and how it molded me into who I am. But I feel like the older you get, in this day and age, some people don't like getting spoke to in certain ways.
Yeah, definitely.
You know what I mean? And it's, without going into politics of war and why and what all that stuff. You know, there's some reasons why people leave and stuff.
But you have to, like, the army is really, you know, it's there to turn you into this. You know, you kind of must know when you're going in the army that you're going to be moulded into a certain type of person. You know, it's
the shock of capture when you go to basic training. And I was a young, naive 17-year-old kid from a village, not knowing anything. And your mum and dad drive you all the way there, and they're like, "Good luck." And you all stand there in a big gaggle, and all the parents wave, and the gates shut, and the gates close, and they all drive off, and they say, "You're fucking mine now."
Oh,
so for the next 7 weeks, it's intense, and then you have a weekend at home, and then you have another 7 weeks, and then that's you passed out of basic training, I guess.
Do you think national service should be brought back?
Definitely. Maybe not national service in a sort of going to war army style, but I do believe there should be discipline in, even from my age, as people who've got naff all discipline. They don't respect anybody. Everybody's out for themselves. It's like everyone's comparing themselves to others on social media, and as soon as you start comparing yourself to other people, you raise the expectations of your own life, and you're just miserable. Sorry, I went on a tangent there, but
no, it's all right. This is what we do. It's a conversation. Like Nick now, he's trying to build a community of TikTokers for an adventure, and
I've seen it, and it's inspiring, mate. To be honest with you, because when you start filming your videos, walking around, you walking your dog, and just getting your voice out there, that's the very start, and that's where I'm basically starting myself. So you've grown like that in such a short period of time, and got a good following of people who, you know, it's just ace.
It's because he's authentic, though, isn't it?
You got to be yourself. You have to.
He gave me the balls to get my face on camera, though. Seeing people, like, no disrespect, Nick, you know I love you to pieces, but like he's an average normal bloke that thought, fuck it, I'm going to start a story, and just started talking.
The thing is, I firmly believe everyone's an average normal bloke. It's just it's what you do with yourself that puts you apart from other people. And I think nowadays it's so. And I'm only young. I'm only 27, and I am naive, and I'm grown up in a different generation to you guys. And I think that we all are, in our generation, quite entitled, because you guys are, you know, you've gone through more stuff as you do with age anyway. But I think everyone's upset about something now.
Yeah.
And 100 years ago, people were upset because they couldn't feed or eat or do basic human stuff. And now people are upset because they don't like what you said on a website.
Did you I mean, I don't watch it, but did you see that young girl on I'm a Celebrity? Get me out of here.
I've seen clips.
No, what's happened with this? Go on, give me the download.
I mean, like I said, I don't watch TV, but I saw a couple of clips on here, and you've got a young, what looks like millennial. She's probably, I don't know, 24, 25. And there was a bloke on there, it's 56, and they were doing some sort of challenge. And he said to her something along the lines of, "I'm old enough to be your dad," which he is. I don't know if, I'm pretty sure he didn't know, but her dad had passed away some number of years ago. And she's completely taken offence to it. She's gone absolutely off on one. "I never want to speak to you again." And this, that, and the other. And he's like, "Look, you know, it's just a figure of speech that somebody my age says to somebody your sort of age, you know, at various different times." And she's just gone absolutely to the nth degree with it. And it's ridiculous. And then I saw a load of clips today that she was on some podcast before. And these guys she was saying, "Oh, yeah, you know, if you earn 200K, I'll call you daddy," and stuff like that. So in a different context, she's happy to bang the dad word around. But when it suited her, all of a sudden it's poor me. You've offended me. I can't believe somebody's spoken to me like this. And you're thinking, wow, you know, you're going to be in the big bad world one day, and somebody's going to say something or do something that is going to affect you in a far more significant way than that. And I just don't feel that we're building resilience up anymore.
No.
I mean, I'm a massive advocate. I'm obviously a tennis coach by trade, so I've taught tennis now for 25 years, 20 odd years, and the aspect of that gladiatorial nature of sport, where it's one against one, your mum and dad can't come on the court and help you. You can't even coach on the sidelines on a tennis court. So it's even slightly more difficult than a football match, because you've got the dads and the coaches there, you know, giving advice. These kids have got to figure it out on their own.
Yeah.
And they're in tears, and you know, it's as close as you're going to get to a boxing match without hitting somebody. You, at times, you absolutely hate that person on the other side of the net. So the kids that, you know, sort of I've taught, they've got a bit of resilience, but I know a lot of kids now, and they've just got absolutely no resilience whatsoever. The first sign of anybody disagreeing with them, they fold like a cheap deck chair, and that's the end of it.
They get defensive, and I think that whether it's tennis, whether it's whatever you do, you need some sort of competitive edge where you're competing with other people in any aspect, because it gives, if you lose, then you're okay with that. It's learning. Anybody who makes it loses a million times before they make it, and it's people just, they fail on one thing or they get upset by one thing, and it's the whole world. But it's only, and to some people, it's only what they're used to. If they're used to getting their own way the whole life, and then one thing goes bad, it's like the whole world's crushing down them. It's like, well, people need to realize that, you know, at any given moment something could catastrophically happen.
Joe Rogan's got a good phrase that I tend to use as well sometimes now, and he says the worst thing that's ever happened to somebody is the worst thing that's ever happened to them.
Yeah.
So if you've got a young kid whose dad's bought them a Range Rover for their 17th birthday, and you know they've this, that, and the other, if the worst thing that's ever happened to that kid is they've had to change a flat tire on the driveway, that's the worst thing, and they're going to react to that in the same way as the young kid that's been bullied his or her whole life, been beaten up at school, and that, and the other. It's all relative to what you've actually gone through as a person, and putting yourself in situations where you're having to face resilience, or you're having to build resilience and battle your way through and have failures, it is sourly lacking. But I'm just wondering if this is just maybe the next evolution of human beings. You know, we've got to the stage now where technology and the way that we live now. So it's on the same subject, but as a sort of a sidetrack. Did you know that pigs and wild boars are the same species?
I heard this on Joe Rogan. It's like they spend 2 weeks from being domesticated to wild, and they start growing hair and tusks and shit like that.
So you put them in an environment where they're struggling, and they become this wild, fighting, being able to, you know, and I think we're the same.
Yeah.
And I think we're putting ourselves in these situations now, and we're losing that competitive edge, that grit, that determination. We're essentially becoming domesticated pigs.
Yeah, but the more comfortable we get with not experiencing hard things, the more scary people find it to do anything that's not even that scary. You know, I not without sounding silly, but I have a cold shower every morning. I've had a cold shower every morning for about a year now.
Yeah.
And every single time I'm about to get in a cold shower, I'm not. I probably spend 3 or 4 minutes a day stood there looking at it thinking, why? But as soon as I get out, I feel like
never done.
It is, yeah, but it's just doing it. You're not going to die. It's going to be cold for 2 minutes, and you got to breathe through it. That's all you have to do.
Just to be devil's advocate here, I've got a skin graft across my foot. If you've got a skin graft, people, do not get in an ice bath. Trust me. 4 hours later, and I'm still trying to warm my bones up.
Is that due to your nerve damage, Andy?
Yeah, I had a motorbike accident, and basically, like, I can't really show you on camera, but the top of my foot you can see the bones in my foot like freely, like it's just a layer of skin across it.
Are you saying foot or butt?
Sorry?
Are you saying foot or butt?
Foot.
Right. I've just got visions of you having this bony bum. I'm like,
my left foot. No, but yeah, I had a motorbike accident, and it basically gutted the top of my foot, and yeah, I spent 10 days in London hospital having it rebuilt. But yeah, I tried the old ice bath thing.
Mm.
It didn't go too well for the left foot.
You just have to do it like a flamingo, mate.
Yeah, that's what I have to do. You have to get my foot out of the bath. But yeah, anyone with a skin graft, just think about it a sec, okay?
Yeah, no.
That's all.
I'm glad you're all right now.
Yeah, we're all good now. Yeah. Well, surgeons always exaggerate things anyway. When I was in hospital, they told me I'd walk with a permanent limp for the rest of my life, and I'd need a walking aid. I'd never play football again. Mind over matter. I taught myself to walk with my dogs along the hills. I never went to any physiotherapy. 18 months later, I was back on the football pitch with the boys practicing.
Good effort, mate.
2 years after that, I was back playing semi-pro football. So, yeah.
That's min. I've got a similar one. On the last day of year 6 at school, I broke my tib and fib, both bones in my left leg, and my elbow at the same time. And we finished for the summer holidays on that Friday, and I was riding out of school, and I turned around to talk to my mate, and my foot slipped off the pedal, went in between the frame, and the bike just collapsed on my leg and snapped it. And I spent 8 weeks in a wheelchair with an umbrella in the garden because I couldn't walk. But then, it heals and it sets, and I've got one leg is a little tiny bit shorter than the other, but I still can go up mountains and run and keep fit, no issue. I think people are a lot stronger than what we are.
Come on then, Nick, give us your war wounds. What have you had?
Tennis elbow.
Yeah, I've had a bit of tennis elbow, broken. Well, in actual fact, it was only a couple. What would it have been? It would be 2 years in December, almost to the day, around about. So I was I used to do primary school PE teaching.
Yeah.
Because as a tennis coach, you tend to just work evenings and weekends. So you've got large chunks of the day where you're not doing anything because people are at work or they're at school. So I started doing some sort of part-time PE teaching. Once you can sort of teach a sport, you can kind of turn your hand to any sport as long as you've got a lesson plan. So I was doing, I was at one school and it had snowed here, just ever so lightly snowed in the Midlands. And I got to the school in the afternoon. I think it was like 1 o'clock. I was doing 1 till 3, and then I'd got tennis coaching from 4:30 until like 9 at night. And I got there. Head teacher said, "Look, it's a bit icy outside. No kids outside. No PE outside. Can you do it in the hall?" So I'd only got the very little ones, maybe year 2 and year 3. So we did indoor hockey with the little plastic hockey sticks. And then at the end of the day, I'm taking the hockey sticks out back through the corridor out to the shed outside. And I've got these 2 little kids to come and help me because there's too many sticks and whatnot for me to take. And as I've opened the door, obviously the playground's still icy and whatnot. There was a black mat, one of these. It was like hard plastic mat outside. And as I've put my right foot down, it slipped away to the side. It's dislocated my kneecap and it's broken my leg. Yeah. So and this is home time as well, mind you. So all the parents were in the playground pissing themselves laughing. This fucking middle-aged bloke flapping around on the floor. And obviously you've both really hurt yourselves. You're just explaining that then. But when you've really hurt yourself, your brain knows that it's really hurt itself. And it kind of goes into defense mode, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And the pain doesn't quite hit, but you know it's going to hit. So I've dragged myself back into the like cloakroom, and I've said to one of the kids, "Can you go and get the head teacher? I've really hurt myself." And they're like, "Oh, okay, come back." Anyway, that night we were supposed to be going out with my mates for a curry. So I phoned my mate and said, "Look, I'm not going to be able to come out tonight." He's like, "What are you talking about?" So I slipped over, really hurt my leg, hurt my knee. He said, "Now, fuck it, have a couple of beers, I'll pick you up, we'll be all right." So I've gone out, had a couple of beers, Woke up the next morning and my knee is just horrendous. So I phoned my mate back up. I said, look, you're going to have to come and pick me up this morning. I'm going to have to go to the hospital. So I went to the hospital. Yeah, you've broken it. Full cast. So this would have been like early December. So the entire Christmas period, couldn't put the Christmas tree up. It was just a fucking absolute nightmare. So yeah, there's my war wound. But it is what it is, isn't it? Like you said, your leg heals, your bones heal. And I had to have an operation on it. So I had an operation this time last year. So in actual fact, it was 2 days before Christmas last year. Went in, had an arthroscopy. They took some cartilage out and a little bit of bone that was floating around. And now my left knee's fucked, and I didn't do out to that.
Yeah, I think that
right knee's golden, left knee's fucked.
I think that any ligaments in knees and joints so much more worse than breaking a bone, because it does never really quite heals properly. Where the bone can fuse and you're okay. Yeah. If you start doing like your MCL and
game over.
You're a mega footballer and you're getting it operated on there and then by the best surgeons, you're fucked, aren't you, really? But that was kind of really what then started getting me looking at different supplements. So, you know, I'd gone down the route of looking at turmeric and these kind of things that you go into Holland and Barrett, you don't know what you're really doing, and they say, oh, this will work. So started exploring some of the supplements, and I tell you, one of the things that really did help when it was really painful was CBD oil. That really started to help, and in actual fact, so the guy that runs Raw Shilajit, he has another company called Pure Phyto, which is CBD products. So obviously he'd given me this, and then sort of as we're, you know, having a conversation, he said, look, do you want me to send you some CBD products? Because they really do help with arthritis and things like that. So he sent me a load over, a couple of drops of that in the morning. Again, really helped with, you know.
I'm riddled with arthritis.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I've just found out today I need a left hip replacement.
Really?
I've got to have my whole left hip replaced in May.
From just what, wear and tear?
Yeah, from football, like 25 years of football, then 10 years of coaching the kids football. Yeah, it's bone on bone now. I've got nothing left. Like, it's just, it's mainly that, like you said yourself, Nick. You get to our age, things start going a bit south. You have to look at other angles to make money, you know. And this is what one of the reasons I started the podcast. Another reason is to get the word out to people. You know, there's loads of reasons why, but I feel people need to know to start looking after themselves a lot younger than like your age.
I'm always a big advocate for that. Like anybody, I've been working out now for 10 years, and I always see young people in the gym like struggling or not knowing what to do. And I'm always, look, this is how you do it. I want the younger generation to be fit and strong, because we've got the knowledge now that, 30, 40 years ago, we didn't have the knowledge of what you can take to make you feel better, what you can do to make you feel better. All these things now, we've got thousands of years of knowledge that we can use to, no one's perfect. You don't have to walk around eating spinach raw and, everyone's a human, but I think if you're healthier, you're happier.
Yeah.
100%.
And there is your angle for your TikTok videos, mate. You do 4 or 5, honestly, talk to Nick. You do 4 or 5 of them a day. You'll be amazed at what can happen, mate.
Yeah, and I think it's opening my eyes massively, this sort of e-commerce. I've just started learning about business basically a year ago. I didn't read any books about business. I didn't read books since I was 14 years old up until last year. So it's like learning about money and finances and purposes and all this stuff.
Fuck it. Just roll with it, mate.
I am, yeah. I am.
That's what I do.
At the minute, I'm just YouTubing how to, looking at your target audiences and unique values and how to
just be you, pal.
Yeah,
honestly,
no.
Just be you. Honestly, it doesn't. If Nick didn't look into all that, he just started telling his story. When I had my 10,000 account, I just told my opinion on things, and then my opinion was out of fashion all of a sudden by TikTok, and I got banned. So I've started again. This time I'm coming at a different angle. I'm, you know,
a bit more
gently just pushing people in the right direction in certain aspects.
But the thing is, Andy, you've now found your voice, your niche, and what you do, I couldn't do. That's not me. You went down the route of creating content, trial and error, like I did, and after a few banned accounts and trial and error with different things, you found your niche and your voice. And this is what I say to people. They say to me, I don't know what to say and I don't know what to do. So essentially, I've always been a teacher. That's been me. I'm a teacher. I've taught tennis. I taught myself how to draw so that I could teach people to draw. That's what I love doing. So over the past couple of weeks, I made a few videos saying, look, I'm going to open my studio up for some one-to-ones. If you're going to drive to me, I will sit down with you for an hour and we'll talk about your content, what you want to do with it, how you can improve it. And it's been phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. I've had people driving from Wales. In fact, 3 people have driven from Wales. Had somebody drive from Sheffield yesterday. So it was a couple. They this guy hounded me. I'm getting a lot of messages every day on various different things, so it's hard to keep up with it. This guy did not stop. I want to come and meet you, Nick. I've seen some of your videos. I'm really inspired. I want to come and want to sit down and talk to you. So we penciled it in for yesterday. He comes down. It's a young Muslim bloke with a big beard. And out the other side of the car comes a young white woman. And I was like, whoa, okay. And they're talking about how they can make money online, and she sold some Ugg boots, and he's really into crypto and this and that and the other. And I said, just stop right there. I said, fuck all of that. I said, you two are the content.
Yeah.
I said, as you walked out of that car, my head's gone, wow, how did these two meet? Who prays when? Does she still believe in Jesus? Have they got a Bible and a Quran? What happens on barbecue days when you go around her mum and dad's house and he's cooking sausages?
Yeah.
So I said to them, this is the content.
Yeah.
You two, an amazing, loving couple. And, you know, they were so open. And she was like, he was the first Muslim I ever met. And I was actually fairly racist when I first met him. She said that. And he was like, yeah, she was. So this is just a story of 2 people that have absolutely fallen in love. And although it's accepted now, you see a white woman with a you know, an Asian or a Chinese man, you don't really bat an eyelid. But we've not delved into it. We don't go and ask them the questions that we want to ask. Yeah. And I said, that is your content. Anyway, I got a phone call from him today. Again, he's hounding me, and I love that. He says, honestly, Nick, I was not going to stop until I got to see you. He says, we've listened to what you've said. We've created a new channel. It's called White or Brown. That's their channel. Perfect. And he said, we've made 2 videos and we've got 20,000 views. They said, you are absolutely spot on. Yeah. It's fucking changed our lives. And we just needed somebody to see what we weren't necessarily seeing. I said, forget about your crypto trade. That's all part of your life. I said, I want to see a video of you two both going to the gym. Does she wear a hijab now or not? What do you do? How often do you trim your beard? Do you keep it that length because she likes it that length or whatnot? All of these things that we want to know about this dynamic, that's the fucking content. And I said, you're going to be able to sell books. You're going to be able to go on talk shows. You're going to be able to go on podcasts. You're going to be able to do your crypto trading. You're going to be able to sell products. All of this.
I've already thought of a funny one in my head already. Like, there you know what I mean? Like,
So coming back to it, 2023 is the start of people becoming their own brand. And that doesn't matter whether you're a Muslim man married to a white woman, whether you're a one-legged army veteran that's fighting PTSD, whether you are an Indian cuisine chef that's starting to do something a bit different. Whatever it is, everybody has their own unique selling point. You've just got to find it. And Andy's found his. I found mine through trial and error. And I'm sitting here listening to you, Glenn.
I've already got yours, yeah.
You're golden. You're
Yeah.
a young, motivated, handsome, driven young man who has got a very wise head on young shoulders. Somebody that can cross generations, so you can have a conversation with me and Andy, and there aren't many youngsters that can cross that bridge, because you can equally go in and speak to a load of 14 and 15-year-old lads, because you're not too far away from them. So I'm sitting here, and you should be pulling out your phone 6 to 10 times a day and recording what's going on in your mind. What books have you read? What have you eaten? What's your routine? What's the best protein shakes you've been taking? Why did you start taking Shilajit? What was depression like? What were your good days like? What were your bad days like? How much alcohol were you drinking when you were feeling really shit? Why have you been doing cold showers? What's the science behind cold showers? How do you feel? Right, it's fucking 7 a.m, guys. I've got my phone out. I'm just about to get in my cold shower and I'm fucking hating it. There it is.
I think that's perfect, mate. That's absolutely perfect. It's along the same lines of what I had and was having, but it was how to do it. It was like, do I spend loads and loads of time making one massive video to try and promote something, or do people want quick? This is what I'm doing today. This is what I'm eating. This is what I'm working while I'm also at my full-time job. This is what I'm doing. This is how I'm trying to make...
living proof. That's what people want.
Yeah. You are.
I'm living proof. There's nothing special about me. I've had good times, I've had bad times, I've had shit times, I've had amazing times. I've made loads of mistakes. I've had enemies. I've been in fights. I've had girlfriends. I've had divorce. I've let my kids down at times. I've done all of those things that every other bloke and woman out there, if they're honest with themselves, have all done and have all felt. And it's so simple, it's almost ridiculous.
Yeah.
This is what people want now. They don't want the fake celebrities on the TV.
It's bravery as well. You know, and like, honestly, every time I hit that live button in the morning, my guts are churning. I don't know what's coming. I don't know what people are coming in them boxes, but I've always been a very upfront, like, no nonsense kind of guy, and it used to get me in trouble back in the days. You know what I mean? Because people didn't like, you know, me just expressing my opinion. So over the years, I've kind of found a cheeky way to say the things I want, but with a smile on my face and with a bit of humour behind it. So people, you know, like the other day, I had a Muslim woman on TikTok, and she was saying that all Muslim people, their law says that they have to, when they enter a new land, they have to abide by that laws of that land. And I said to her, well, if that's true, why is it then we see thousands upon thousands of people, Muslim people, praying in the middle of our capital? And she said, well, we all have to pray, like we all have to pray a certain time of day. And I said to her with a smile on my face, I went, so you're telling me that 5,000 Muslim men were just walking around London and just happened to turn up in the middle of London on that day with their mats in their hand to pray? Or was it organised as a show of Muslim force to the British people? You know what I mean? And I said it with a smile on my face, and she was a bit like, I see what you're saying, but I'm saying, well, you keep saying to me that we have to abide by the laws of the land, well, and the culture of the land. Well, the culture of Britain is not to be marching up to London with big crosses for Christianity and praying in the middle of the streets and all that. We don't do that. So why do you feel like it's necessary for your culture to do that in other countries? And she didn't have an answer for me.
I think the difficult part with all of that is it's not a law to not do it, and it's not a law to do it. And I think that's where things can. I think that's where Britain is one of the, if not the best places on the planet for anybody to come and live.
It's because it's so sorry.
It's so diverse. And we're so open. You know, there's always going to be an undercurrent of racism in certain societies or groups of people, but in the whole, to say that Britain is a racist country when our prime minister is an Indian, you know, the Suella Braverman, whoever's just gone, you know, recently was an Indian. if we were inherently a racist country, you wouldn't see people in the head of the police or, you know, in government of different ethnic, you know, minorities.
Yeah.
You don't see it in Poland, and you don't see it in Russia.
No.
And I think sometimes it's difficult to take yourself out of it and look back in. But like I say, I've got a lot of Asian friends, and when they go over to India, I had a very close friend that went to India and one of the other countries close by, and he came back and he said, honestly, the racism over there is far worse between the different
nationality,
not even the nationality, the different castes and the different
groups.
The different groups of people. He said it is absolutely terrible how one group of people will treat another group just because they're of a different caste and whatnot. He's like, it was a real eye-opener because he'd not been back to India for many years. And he said, you know, you come back to, he lives in London, and he said, it's just unbelievably tolerant, which I think on the whole we are. Yeah,
I do think that too. I think it's just the old, see, my old man can be a bit like, very patriotic, and he's, because, you know, the British Empire, and but then the British Empire owned half of the world at one point. It's this you can go down the rabbit hole with that.
Well, I always, like I say to like people say to me, "Oh, real Brit, what do you think about the British Empire?" Expecting me to go, "Well, I'm really sorry, but I don't." I turn around to them and say, "Well, basically, if we hadn't fought off the French and the Spanish, they would have our history. But we turned out to be number one in that period of time, and we went on. Yeah, we did do some wrong, but we also, in the end, did a lot of good. So I'm proud of our history. If we hadn't have been number one in that period of time, or if you swap the periods of time around, let's just say that the British Empire was Mongolian Empire was, and the Mongolian Empire was when the British Empire. We'd all be looking at the Mongolians now going, you're out of order, because we remember the recent parts of history, what affect, you know, and like a lot of people, they only want to go back to history that affects them. What about, should we hate the Danish for the Vikings that came over? Should we hate the Vatican because of the Romans? You know what I mean? It's just madness. It's like periods of time that have no consequences in today's society. You know, so get over it, get on with it. Britain's a brilliant country, and I love my country.
Hey, you gotta love where you live.
Yeah, I don't care. I don't care what you say. Like, yeah, we've had good and bad times, but so is every other nation.
True.
But
I think whenever you come off second best in anything, there's always going to be resentment there, isn't there?
Yeah.
You know, and it was nothing to do with me, and it was nothing to do with you or Glenn, none of us.
No.
But our forefathers came first place, didn't they? And whether that was, you know, right or wrong, or, you know, if we hadn't have come first, somebody else would have come first.
Yeah.
And it would have been using the same methods, because they were the methods that were available to those cultures and societies at that time. You know, people are saying, are we going to enter into World War III? We've been in World War III for a decade. It's not bombs, it's cyber attacks. It's economies crashing. It's the changing of government. So we're in a war already, and we have been for a long time. It just doesn't resemble the war that we think of in the trenches, sending the men out. And we're going to look back at this period in time, and whoever comes out on top, whether it's the Chinese or whether it's the Americans, whoever, we're going to say, well, you know, they shouldn't have done that, and that was dirty tactics. And how could they have gone into the files of every American citizen and wiped out their credit, you know, whatever it might be that they're. And it just moves on. So somebody's going to win, and somebody's going to.
It's in our human nature. It's in our DNA. You're never ever going to get rid of that, unless technology advances to our brains and other stuff. But with the primitive brains we've got, we've always seek out power and dominance over other people, no matter what.
Yeah, until that big meteorite comes and wipes us all off the planet, and then we'll be going, oh God, we're wasting so much time fighting each other. You know? We will though, won't we?
Hey, imagine how many TikTok lives it'd be though.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, look at this meteorite. He's coming for us. He's coming for us. Hit share. Yeah, that drives me crazy as well, watching people's lives. And they sit there for the first 20 minutes going, well, share it out, guys, share it out. If people want to watch you and they're interested in you, as soon as they see your live come up, they come to you.
I think it's I don't know TikTok much, and it just looks to me with lives, it's like a marketplace for attention on what you've got to give to, like, if you know, sometimes there's lives of people driving lorries down the M1 and people like that. Yeah. Sometimes there's lives of someone making a cake. It's good because it gives you a chance to show what you've got, and if people are interested, they'll follow you.
Have you seen the new AI thing that's going around now?
No, I saw something on ChatGPT that you can customize things now. But I don't know why. Go on,
They sit there like this now, and they go.
Oh yeah, you're talking about the NPC people.
Or they do this, yeah, and then when you send them a gift, they go, "Oh, ice cream, yum 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 yum."
Oh wow!
Oh, donut.
They just stand there all day doing it, don't they?
All day.
There's two guys that do it in the middle of New York, in the middle of Times Square, just doing it all day.
And people are just chucking in gifts.
But like Dan said,
imagine how much
if somebody likes to watch that, that's fantastic. If somebody
likes
wow
it,
it's great.
But don't you think it's you wouldn't catch China doing that. They would ban that from their TikTok. They wouldn't have their kids watching that. They wouldn't have their society watching that, would they? Because they would say, well, this ain't a use to society. In fact, it's the complete opposite.
It's a Chinese app, though. That's what makes it scary.
But not like their app. Their app rewards cleverness. Like, their app is completely different to ours. They would not have half the stuff that we have on our app on their app. It all rewards, like, if you have a good science project or if you work out a mathematical equation on the app, like, it rewards you for that, and it teaches their kids to be smart. Like, you can see it on YouTube. They're training their kids to unload and load guns blindfolded in the classroom.
It's more educational than I see.
Yeah. I can't remember what they call it now. They call it something else. But yeah, we basically took the same app and we've turned it into what the West does best. A free-for-all.
But if you went and asked half the population of China if they would like to live in the West and vice versa, I think most of them would want to live over here. Because they
realised.
But they can do things if they want to, like spend all day dancing for somebody and making a little bit of a living. Equally, if I want to learn calculus from somebody on YouTube, there's going to be somebody on there that I can do it. And I think this dictatorial state where you can only do this, that, and the other, are we actually making happy human beings? And the fact that we can come and have a conversation about this now and not worry about the government listening to us and is it going to get taken down, blah, blah, blah. But equally, if I want to just stand up now and start going, yum, 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 ice cream, roses, thank you for the roses. If somebody wants to watch that and I want to do it, I think I'm all for everybody being able to do whatever the fuck they want to do, as long as they're not harming somebody else and putting somebody into a situation that they don't like and they can't get out of. So I think in many ways we've probably got a better balance.
Yes, definitely.
Or have we gone too far? You always talk about the pendulum, Nick. Like, have we gone too far though? You know, we too in this fantasy world. Because if the Vikings come now, I think this generation's in trouble. Apart from Glenn here.
With the freedom though, with the freedom of being able to do that, Nick, the consequences is going to be people have been comfort and stuff like that. If you live under a dictatorship, it almost makes you disciplined by default. When you've got a free for all of ideas and stuff, then people join cults and cliquey groups, and you know it's just whose group's better.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. But you know, I obviously work with a lot of, you know, teenagers and things like that, and the one thing that you hear from the parents the most is, my kids are always online, and it's a little bit like our parents back in the day when TVs were first coming out, saying if you sit in front of that TV all day, you're going to get square eyes. And the reality of it was, none of us got square eyes. It was just the unknown. Our parents didn't know what was happening. And these youngsters' social lives are now online. So instead of going and hanging around the park where the local flashers walking past and you're drinking, you know, high strength lager at 15 with your mates, they're online communicating through headsets, playing Fortnite, and they're up until midnight. And so their social life's evolved. And I think sometimes we can go too far. You know, you hear about some kids that particularly in China, that have died because they've been playing World of Warcraft for 3 days in a row. They've not gone to the toilet, they've not eaten. So there are always going to be outliers that take things too far, but we will settle into we're all going to be plugged into VR in the next 15 years anyway, aren't we?
I think as well, I think I'm in the generation where I used to play games on headsets with my friends online, but I also used to go out and party and do that. So I was in between having Facebook, Instagram, going online with my mates, and then building dens, lighting fires, being a kid. So I've kind of grown with the transition of that, and I feel like you need both. I feel like if it's winter and it's cold and you're a 14-year-old, if you're playing Call of Duty with your mates, taking the piss out of each other, that's fine. But when it's summer and you're doing that constantly, you're not having physical, you're not talking physically, you're not interacting physically, and you have this virtual world where some kids will get affected by that, and they'll struggle to maintain relationships in work and in other areas because they've been too far. It's just, what's the healthy limit? What nobody knows. What's the healthy limit? What's the balance?
Well, Elon Musk has started asking for volunteers now for his neurochip.
Yeah, there'll be some people that want it, and you know, you could argue it's absolutely mental that people are doing that, or you could say, hang on, if I can work out something while I'm writing or while I'm doing this XYZ, you will be a superhuman, and everyone else will want that. And then
you could also be walking down the road and then suddenly wake up in the back of a police car and you've just robbed a bank and you have no idea that you've just done it. And you're like, hang on a minute. And the bloke across the road with his phone's going, you've just loaded his car up with millions of pounds.
Well, it's also, will it be the biggest data breach? If a chip can see what you're seeing and thinking, you will never be able to, your life will never be private to anybody. Although, you know, how far do you look into that? Crazy.
Yeah. So at the moment, he's just asking for people that are paralysed, so he can put the link back together between the severed part of the spine or whatever's wrong with them.
That stuff's amazing.
Yeah, it does sound amazing, doesn't it? But once again, it's a chip in your brain. At the moment, I cannot hack Nick's brain. I can't hack your brain. But you give me a chip to access.
It's good and evil. It's like, on the good side, you'll be able to fix ailments and all sorts of stuff. But on the bad side, nobody knows really. I don't know. I don't know what my opinion on it really. If someone said, you want a chip in your brain?
Yeah. Well, Elon says that humanity will have to integrate with technology. Otherwise, technology will take over the human race.
I think that's right.
He also says, like, technology will look at us like an anthill in the road when we're building a road. We don't hate ants, but our road, we're not going to go round the anthill. It's just a problem to us. We're going to go over it. And AI would think of humanity the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. But unfortunately, the cat's out the bag now. It's already begun.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're too late now to even stop it. And it's, I don't know what podcast it was, but in a few seconds, using AI, ChatGPT or something, it produced 5,000 brand new cures for diseases. And in the same amount of time, it produced 5,000 toxic chemicals, more toxic than cyanide. it's just it's the yin and yang. It always is. It's always going to be good, and there's always going to be evil, and which one prevails?
I always say, in the grand scheme of things, there is no good and there is no bad. There is just things.
True.
So a toxin that's more powerful than cyanide is only a bad thing to us because it kills us. But there might be some, I don't know, underwater, undiscovered fish that lives at the bottom of the Mariana Trench that lives on cyanide. So for that, amazing. But for us, it kills us. The new road that stretches from here to London, and I can get to, you know, the centre of London in 35 minutes because we've got this fantastic road, is amazing for me. But those little ants, it was dog shit for, wasn't it? And I think everything in the grand scheme of things, when we look back in history, it's just things that happened.
Yeah.
It's just, things are just happening. Some things break, some things don't. By breaking something, we create something that helps something. And I think if I look at things logically like that and think, well, you know, it didn't really matter what happened 10,000 years ago when them two people were arguing and that caveman hit the other one over the head and it killed him. At the time, it would have had ramifications in the village and whatnot, and his kids. But really, it didn't really matter, did it? And what we're doing right now isn't doing another 5 to 10,000 years. And I guess you could say that's quite a cynical way of looking at things. But ultimately, you know, think about 10,000 years ago when they were arguing over whether Ra was the most enlightened god or Count Juba Juba in the jungle was the most, you know, at that time, created wars, would have been this and fighting and whatnot. And you look back at it now and you're like, yeah, Thor wasn't real. The reason that noise was coming out of the sky was because of the friction created by the atoms in the clouds that created static electricity. And that's now what we know it was. But people would have killed each other over it. And no, this was this god, and you now got to die, and we're going to
Yeah, you're right, though. You're right. Like, the Blair Witch Trials wasn't even long ago, and used to burn people at the stake for nothing.
Yeah.
In Canterbury, where I live, there is still an old chair that goes out to the river where they used to dunk witches.
No, really?
Yeah, and if you came out dead, you weren't a witch, and if you came out alive, you was a witch, and then they would burn you. So, you know, we've had some crazy, you know, we used to burn women on a daily basis in this country for being a witch.
Yes.
We've just been as back crazy as anyone else.
Yeah.
Mad, isn't it?
And I think if you can just traverse through life as best as you can without hurting or killing or making any really bad decisions, you're not going to go too far wrong. But we are going to integrate with technology. That's the path that we're on. And again, it's Rogan that says it an awful lot. If you look at us and you say, what is the trait of human beings? It is we make things and we make them better.
It's technology, yeah, because it's like
that's what it is.
We discover fire, then you discovered the wheel, and it's always about technology, like you said. And
but we never sit there, do we? You know, this phone that I'm looking at you on now is just as good as the iPhone 15 for what it does, but yet we wanted to make the iPhone 15 and people wanted to go and buy it, and the 16 and the 17. It doesn't just stop and go, actually, iPhones are good enough now, we're just going to leave it at that. You know, in 20 years' time, the iPhone's going to be completely different to what we've got now. And that's because we've got this innate desire to make things and make them better.
It's like technology and consumerism is like they both bounce off each other because everybody wants the next new car or finance or TV or whatever. Yeah.
But don't you think we've been...
Why socialism would never work. That's why socialism as a concept would never work. Because without people being rewarded for making things better, nobody would make things better. We'd still be riding around in old Ford whatevers, you know, with no seat, because they're like, well, fuck it. You know, it does the job.
Yeah.
But somebody somewhere went, actually, if I make this slightly better, I can sell this car to the same person that's already got it. and the same person, because I bought every iPhone since the iPhone 1.
Yeah.
So they've sold me the same phone 15 times in a row.
But don't you think we've been slightly programmed by advertising and that to just consume, buy the next best thing, buy these silly little logos, believe in these
they know
people?
that,
You know what I mean? I do feel like we do it too much. We're too much into all this.
Well, it's the colours. Because I started doing a little bit of learning on sales and marketing, I barely even touch the surface. But even if you go into shops now and see what their adverts look like in shops and the colours and everything, it's all like it's all subconscious. You see all this stuff, you know, it's pulling you towards it without even realising.
But they're only tapping into something that already exists.
Yeah.
You know, that's so
manipulating it.
What I think, Andy, is I don't think they've created it. I think they found a way of hijacking it and accelerating it.
Yeah.
I think, you know, because there was no adverts around 5,000 years ago. There was no consumerism, but there was consumerism because that bloke wanted to make slightly better bread than that bloke.
Or the armour, Go to the best blacksmith for the best armour.
Exactly that. And who could make the king laugh better? Was it that jester or that jester? Well, we want that jester. And that jester's dead. We're going to chuck him down the pit. And it's just something that we do. You know, cats don't do it, and dogs don't do it. You know, if you said what's the main trait of a dog, it ain't making things and making them better.
No, it's humping.
It's shitting and
breeding.
But don't you think we were like that back in the day? All we cared about is our, you know, breeding and going, running free, hunting. You know, it was only till
you get that argument with men and women's DNA and how it's. What was I getting at now? Sorry, guys.
That's all right. It will come.
Oh, I've dropped it. Sorry.
But there's a theory. So I like yourself, Glenn. I read a lot of books, and they reckon that the invention of fire took us from primitive apes to where we are now. That was the branching off, and the reason behind it was, out of all of the primates and all of the animals, human beings spend the most amount of time in what's called REM sleep. And during that REM sleep stage is that's when we dream. And one of the main functions for REM sleep is, have you ever had a really bad emotional day, whether it's you've had a few arguments, you just felt down, you go to sleep and the next morning it's like the slate's clean.
It's like your brain's
so one of the main, correct, and that only occurs during these different phases of sleep. So what they said was, up until the point that we invented fire, we used to sleep in the trees. And anything that sleeps in a tree can't sleep deeply because of fear of falling. You're dead. But as soon as we invented fire, it meant that we could start to sleep on the floor, because the fire would keep the predators away. It would keep the insects and things like that. And it allowed us to start going into these much deeper periods of sleep. And as a consequence of that, our social abilities and our social ability to pick up on cues and body language and then language all started to happen because this sleep was starting to and that's the huge difference between us and any other primate now.
It's almost like gaining sorry.
Yeah, go on, yeah.
It's almost like these theories of apes and how we've evolved with our brains is more like, it's like this consciousness. Where did we develop that consciousness from? And like REM sleep, you said it's crazy. I've just sorry, I got a book here. I've just nearly finished this one, The Laws of Human Nature. Have you read that, Nick?
No.
It's a massive book. I'm about 80 pages away from finishing it. It's took me a few months now, but that is absolutely unbelievable. It just goes on about it's all about, we can't change who we are and what our dynamics are as humans. I can't even explain it. It's amazing. Anyway, sorry.
There's some amazing ideas and things out there, but it's I like the idea that we stumbled across psychedelic mushrooms and we ate them.
Stone date theory.
I like that. It kind of fits with I don't know.
Yeah, but they're doing amazing things with DMT now in Oxford University, aren't they? Like curing people of lifelong depression.
Yes.
And you know, who's to say that we didn't? You know.
So they're actually the depression and whatnot is more to do with MDMA and psilocybin, but they are doing some studies on DMT, and it's slightly different. So anybody that's done DMT or high-level psychedelics, they all start to report the same kind of entities and same things, same environment. So under clinical trials now, what they're trying to do is they're trying to map out this other realm.
Yeah, they've got 25 people in 3 different categories, one on 10 milligrams, one on 15, and one on 20. Now, or I might have the doses a bit wrong, but the one in the middle, like they've all got depression. They're all clinically like depressed people, and they keep them on a drip for 24 hours in this state. Yeah, like Nick says, they're actually trying to map out this like psychedelic world.
I see what you mean.
The people that are coming out, the middle lot, they're coming out, their depression's gone. Absolutely gone. Like they feel like a new person. So there's a lot to be said for it.
I think I don't know what was it on the Rogan Experience, Nick, where he was talking about that, where you leave the patients in a DMT like state for like normally it's a few minutes of what an actual dose is, but they leave them in there for an hour maybe or 2.
Yeah.
And they're getting their brain scans, and they're sort of mapping out, like you said, it's fucking fascinating.
Yeah, Jordan Peterson's talks about it a lot and saying that it could be a massive thing in the future for humanity, like, you know.
Well, I think all these wonder drugs, like people, I think the 1970s Vietnam era where, you know, psychedelics were bad, and if you took acid, you jumped off a multi-story car park, and, you know, I think there's a lot more evidence now that
was all the CIA.
Yeah. Well, you can go down that rabbit hole as well with what's it called? The Charles Manson. What's that project called?
Didn't they basically a load of LSD and then sent him out on the street to a load of hippies, fed them LSD, and then he went on a hippie murdering campaign, and then they made a campaign that all hippies were bad, and that's why they were marching against the war. It was just absolutely ridiculous when you look into it. Yeah, you never know.
What was that for? That's going to annoy me now.
I can't remember.
Something, wasn't it?
Yeah, Project something.
Operation.
Yeah, but then I don't know if I can.
I can't pick it out of my brain, but I do know what.
It was a brainwashing thing that they had Manson on, and they were feeding these high doses of LSD. What was it? It was.
They did it with lots of patients. They had it in. It was like LA, and they had like glass screens where you could see through them, and basically you was studying these people. They didn't even have a clue. They didn't know what was going on.
Yeah, they've always tried mind-bending drugs, haven't they, since time began? As soon as they realised, you know, that they're good.
It's the Vikings that discovered the red mushrooms, Amanita.
Muscaria. Yeah,
that's the one. Berserker. That's what the name came from.
Yeah, they used to eat it, didn't they?
They used to eat the mushrooms, and run through a village with an axe, which is,
naked.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why they conquered half of Europe, because
terrified people.
Exactly.
Put it away. No. Us poor British. Oh God.
Yeah.
Big Viking running up. Yeah. Oh, but
they reckon that Father Christmas is the tradition of Father Christmas and Christmas trees and whatnot comes from mushrooms.
Really?
Yeah.
So do you know where the saying being pissed comes from?
No, go on.
So being pissed comes from those Amanita muscaria mushrooms. If humans eat them, it makes you really ill. You can cook them and whatnot, but if the reindeer eats them, and then you drink the piss of the reindeer, you get the psychedelic effects of it. And they reckon that up in the northern hemisphere, round about wherever all the reindeer and whatnot are, that would have been a tradition back in the day. So the Amanita muscaria would grow underneath the fir trees. So you've got your Christmas trees with these little red and white packages underneath it. The reindeer would eat them. They would drink the piss and they would start to hallucinate. So that's where these ideas of flying reindeer came from. But then more than that, in the depths of winter, when everything was covered in snow, one of the shaman would go round and drop these mushrooms down the chimneys of all the houses to sort of get the people through whatever. And there's a lot of evidence to suggest that that's a lot of where the Christmas traditions of this Father Christmas, this jolly man giving these presents, comes from.
Wow.
Which again is one of those fanciful kind of, and it's just a nice thing to think of.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. I like all these, like, I don't like to throw the word conspiracy theory about but all these ideas and concepts that people have about loads of stuff is like the stoned ape theory, where we gain consciousness as primates through eating psychedelic fungi, and mad. It is mad.
Well, it's tangible, isn't it? You know what I mean? It gives you a train of thought to go along that isn't too far removed from reality. Because both of those, and there's also a book I can't remember that also puts down a lot of Christianity and the Christianity rituals, again down to these mushrooms. And some guy deciphered the first versions of the Bible or these scripts and said, no, this was a fertility and psychedelic mushroom
I've heard this.
religion type thing.
Wow.
I can't remember who wrote it, but again, Rogan talks about it an awful lot.
I've heard him talk about it about Christianity and about the Greeks as well, drinking this wine that had, it wasn't fungus, it was
is it mead?
Ergot, maybe.
Yes.
I can't remember.
Fungus.
Yeah, okay, all right. But
it's a psychedelic.
So we just determined that back in the day, everyone was just having a really good time.
Yeah.
Weren't they, really? And they were stuffed down, they were out their heads, they were just having a good time.
They were fighting, and off their heads.
That's it. And we've just taken these books a little bit too seriously.
Yeah.
I've got a note and bury it under the ground, and let's see what people are doing with that in 1,000 years. You just don't know, though, do you? It could have been just like one of our what do we call them, where we bury them boxes in the ground.
Time capsule.
Yeah, time capsule. It could have been just a time capsule of the past. You know what I mean? And we've taken it the wrong way.
Yes.
On that note, guys, we'll wrap it up.
It's been a pleasure, guys.
Pleasure.
It's the first time I've ever been on a podcast and spoke openly about my life and to other people, a new sort of audience, and also you guys myself. So I'm very grateful, and it's been an honour to be able to talk to you guys. And
you know how to repay us, didn't you?
Yeah, I do. I already do.
Get on TikTok, bro, and do your thing. All right?
We'll arrange a time for you to come up and see me and put a plan together for you, because I think you really do need to start recording what you've been talking about for the last hour and a half, because I think you've got a huge audience of people that will resonate with you.
Youngins.
And I think I know you can change your financial future from being yourself on social media. And if you can do that, then we're all winners, aren't we?
Yeah, I'll pass your number on, Glenn, all right? I'll pass your number on. Your social media will be linked to this podcast, so anyone that wants to go find his TikTok and give him a little boost, get him going, jump on it and do it.
Well, if any of you guys want any drone footage or camera work, hit me up.
Definitely. We'll be in touch, buddy. We'll be in touch.
I'll be in touch, guys. All right.
All right. Take care, everyone.
Good one. Andy, see you Saturday.
Yeah, see you Saturday, buddy.
It's been a pleasure.
Take care,
dudes.
All right.